Hey Virgo, they are thinking about forever. Not in the abstract romantic way that people think about forever when they are in the early electric phase of feeling something. In the specific, practical, what does the actual life look like way of someone who has moved past the feeling and arrived at the intention, who has done the internal work of translating what they feel into what they are willing to build, who is no longer asking themselves whether this is real, but asking themselves what this reality is going to require. And what they are finding in that asking is that they are willing to give it everything it requires, including the answer to a question they have been quietly, privately, with a seriousness that would surprise even people close to them, preparing themselves to ask. I want to open this reading in the most grounded place available, not in the electricity of feeling, not in the drama of want, in the quietest and most significant dimension of this energy, which is intention. Because what separates what this person is doing from everything that has come before it in the history of what they have felt for you is this: they have stopped thinking about today. They are thinking about years from now, about what the life looks like when the novelty has settled and the daily reality of two people building something together has replaced the charged atmosphere of early connection, about whether what they feel survives that transition, about whether the person they are and the person you are produce, in combination, the specific and ordinary and completely extraordinary thing of a life that is genuinely better for being shared. And the answer they have arrived at is yes, with a certainty that does not have the breathless quality of someone who is hoping, the settled quality of someone who has thought it through. The first image that arrives in this reading is unlike most things I have seen. I see a table, not the feast table from an earlier reading, a different kind of table, a working table, the kind that holds not decoration but documents, plans, the specific practical paper and numbers evidence of someone who is not dreaming about a future but engineering one. And on this table, things that involve you, not your name, the shape of a life that includes you, the contours of an existence designed around the reality of two people rather than one, decisions being considered that cannot be made without the other person, futures being mapped that have you as a fixed coordinate. This person is doing practical work around a future with you, in private, not because they are hiding something, because they understand that plans of this significance deserve to be formed carefully before they are shared. That what they want to offer you, when they offer it, should not be an impulse or a feeling or the charged enthusiasm of a moment. It should be a considered and concrete and fully formed thing, a life thought through with you in it permanently. I want to speak honestly about the age gap in this reading because it is present as context and deserves honest treatment rather than being dissolved into spiritual language that makes everything sound equally uncomplicated. There are real things to consider in connections where ages differ significantly, real differences in life stage, real differences in what each person has already moved through and what they are still navigating for the first time. Real questions about timing, about what each person is ready for and when, about how the gap looks not just now but across the arc of a shared life. Those questions are real, and this person is asking them not to talk themselves out of what they feel, to understand what they are asking you to step into, to ensure that what they are building toward is something that honors the full complexity of who you are and where you are and what your life deserves, rather than something that serves only their own desire. That quality of consideration is not something everyone brings to a significant relationship. Many people feel and move without adequately examining what the moving asks of the other person. This person is examining, and what they are finding in the examination is that the gap, whatever its specific dimension, is not the largest thing in the picture. That the person they are, when they are oriented toward you, the more considered, more serious, more intentional version of themselves that the reality of you seems to produce, is the version they want to be. That the life they are imagining is better than the life they would build without this direction. That the answer, after the full and honest examination, is still yes. I want to describe what their secret planning actually looks like, because planning in secret sounds dramatic, and it is not dramatic. It is quiet, personal. The specific and private project of someone who is in the process of deciding something enormous and who is not yet ready to let the enormous thing be in the world before it is fully formed in them. They are imagining mornings. Specific mornings, not romantic movie mornings, the actual mornings of a shared life, what it sounds like when both people are in the same space doing their ordinary things, what the rhythm of it is, whether the rhythms are compatible, whether two specific people with two specific ways of moving through a morning can build a daily life that works for both of them. They are imagining difficulty, not because they are pessimistic, because they are serious, because they understand that a commitment of this size is not tested by the good times. By the times when everything is easy and the feeling is high, and showing up for the other person is not a challenge, it is tested by the other times. And they are looking honestly at those other times and asking themselves whether they are willing to show up there too. And they are imagining the specific and unremarkable and completely irreplaceable thing of being old in the same direction as someone, of having the years ahead be years they share, of being the person for you who is there across all of it. That imagining is what is driving the planning, not the feeling alone, the specific and decided intention to be there. Tell me in the comments something that I think many of you are sitting with. Has there been a shift in how this person communicates with you recently? A quality that is different from earlier in the dynamic, less casual, more deliberate, like someone who is being careful in a new way, who is choosing their words with an attention that suggests they are aware, perhaps more aware than before, that what they say has weight, that this is not a casual situation, that the person they are speaking to deserves a quality of communication that reflects the seriousness of what they feel. Tell me if you have felt the shift, not from warmer to cooler, from lighter to heavier, from easy to considered. That heaviness is the planning making itself felt at the surface. I see a second image now that is the most intimate image in this reading. I see this person alone with something they have written, not a message, something more private than a message, the kind of thing that exists on paper, because paper is the only available witness to something that cannot yet be said out loud to the actual person it concerns. Something that says, in the specific and honest and not yet edited language of someone writing only for themselves, what they want, what they are prepared to offer, what they are asking for in return. What they are asking for is your future, not your present, not the version of you that exists in this specific season with all its specific circumstances and its specific configuration of what is available and what is not. The long version. The version that requires both of you to make decisions that only make sense across decades rather than months. They are asking in this private writing for the thing that costs the most and offers the most simultaneously, for permanence. And in the asking of it, something is visible about them that their ordinary external presentation does not always show. They are afraid, not of you, of the size of what they feel, of the specific and vertiginous reality of wanting something this much, of the vulnerability of being someone who has decided with full awareness and full seriousness that a specific person is who they want to build their life with. That fear is not doubt. It is the appropriate response to the size of a real thing. Let me speak about what marriage means in this reading, because the word arrives with weight, and I want to treat it with the weight it deserves, rather than using it loosely as a synonym for commitment. This person is not thinking about a gesture. They are thinking about a structure, about the specific and public and legally and spiritually formalized declaration that two people make when they are done deciding and ready to begin the part that is not a decision anymore but a fact. The part that is built rather than felt. That endures not because the feeling is always present at the same intensity, but because the decision was made in full awareness of the fact that feelings vary and the structure holds anyway. They understand what they are moving toward. This is not someone who is using the word marriage casually in the elevated language of strong feeling. This is someone who has thought about what it means and has found that the meaning, examined fully, does not reduce their desire to move toward it. It increases it, because what the meaning adds to the feeling is weight, and they want the weight. They want the specific gravity of something that is not held lightly, that is not easily set down when the setting down becomes convenient. They want to choose you in a way that is hard to unchoose. The third image arrives now, and it has a quality of stillness that is different from any stillness I have described before. I see two chairs, and I know chairs have appeared before in this series. These are different chairs, not the facing chairs of possible conversation, not the empty chairs of potential. These chairs are side by side, both occupied, and the people in them are not facing each other. They are both facing the same direction towards something ahead of them, toward the shared horizon of a life being lived together, rather than the intimate face-to-face of two people still in the process of figuring out if they belong in proximity. They have figured it out. Or this person has. They belong in proximity. They belong in the same direction. And the chair beside theirs, the one that is occupied in this image by you, feels to them like the only configuration of the future that makes genuine sense, not the most convenient configuration, the right one, the specific and particular and not interchangeable with anything else right one. I want to say something now about how you receive this because this reading is landing in a specific place for you, and I want to speak to that place honestly. There may be practical considerations. There likely are. The age gap generates them whether or not we want it to. Questions about life stage and timing and what the future looks like across decades rather than years. Questions that deserve to be asked and answered honestly rather than dissolved in the warmth of a feeling. This reading is not asking you to ignore those questions. It is asking you to not let those questions be the only thing, because alongside every practical consideration that the gap generates, there is also this someone who has thought past the feeling, who is planning, who is imagining mornings and difficulties and decades and the specific and quiet and completely serious business of being someone's permanent person, who has done that thinking and arrived at a certainty that is not shaken by the examination but deepened by it. That quality of intention is not common. It does not correlate with age. It does not arrive more reliably in people who are older or who fit more neatly into the conventional picture of someone you are supposed to build a life with. It arrives in people who are serious, and this person is serious, in a way that deserves to be received with the full weight of what it actually is. Virgo, I want to close this reading in the most honest way I can. Someone is planning a future with you, quietly, carefully, with the full and considered and entirely deliberate intention of someone who has moved past feeling into deciding, who has asked themselves the hard questions and found that the hard questions do not change the answer. The answer is you, specifically you, not a version of you that is more convenient or more expected or easier to explain to the rooms they move through. You, the actual, specific, sometimes complicated, entirely particular you. The you with the age and the life experience and the depth that comes from having moved through things. The you that produced in them the specific and apparently indelible recognition that whatever they had been moving toward before they encountered you was not this. They are not moving toward anything else anymore. They are moving toward a question that they intend to ask when they are ready, when the life they have been building on paper is ready to be built in reality, when the private writing becomes a real conversation, when the plans become a proposal, which is not as far away as you might think. The question is forming, and it has your name in it.